What if I tell you, without warming you up, without giving your mind time to stretch or defend itself, that everything you are about to hear is a lie? Not poetic exaggeration, not a clever opening line, a statement that loops back into itself like a snake that confuses its own tail for food. Because if the sentence, "This video is a lie," is inside the video, then the sentence consumes the very ground it stands on. If the sentence is true, the video lies. If the video lies, the sentence lies. If the sentence lies, then the video tells the truth. Then the sentence is true. Then we fall back into the loop, a loop with no exit. The liar paradox is a small doorway into a much larger world, the kind of world philosophers warn you about, the kind of world that makes your stomach lean forward as if gravity shifted, a world where logic behaves like fog. You reach for it and your hand goes through. But this is not just about a semantic glitch. The deeper truth is that paradoxes reveal something uncomfortable. They show that our tools for understanding reality are not designed for reality. They are designed for survival. They evolved to keep our ancestors alive long enough to pass on their genes. They were not built to unravel the structure of the cosmos. And when you try to use a flashlight designed to spot predators in the dark to instead illuminate the architecture of existence, the beam flickers. It bends. It betrays you. Paradoxes expose that betrayal. And this is where the absurd begins. Humans love the idea that language captures reality. We rely on it to argue, plan, negotiate, confess, pray. But language is not a mirror. It is a net with torn holes. When you try to catch the ocean with a net, most of it slips through. The liar paradox is a crack in that net. Psycholinguistics shows that humans treat self-referential statements as meaningful even when they collapse logically. We are wired to assign meaning even when none is available. It is a survival instinct. Ambiguity in nature is dangerous. A rustle in the bushes cannot be meaningless. So the brain creates meaning, even when the sentence is structurally impossible. This instinct follows us everywhere, into relationships, into politics, into how we interpret text messages that simply say, "We need to talk." Our minds hate the void, so they fill it. Paradoxes expose the feeling. Civilizations are built on stories. Money is a story. Nations are stories. Rights, laws, morals, even identities are stories. Not fake, not imaginary, social. Real because we agree, but fragile because agreement is temporary. Sociologists like Peter Berger describe society as a giant fiction we all nod at to avoid chaos. A fiction that becomes solid only because enough people pretend it is. You remove the pretending, and the world evaporates. Paradoxes remind us that society rests on uncertainties we ignore on purpose. The paradox of tolerance shows this clearly. A tolerant society accepts all voices, including intolerant ones. Intolerant voices then use the space to dismantle tolerance. We experience this today in politics across the world. Democracies acting like ecosystems that accidentally incubate their own predators. Absurdity is not abstract. It is printed on ballots, it is in headlines. It is in the gap between what we believe society is and what it actually does. We live inside contradictions that pretend to be structures. The Fermi paradox is elegant. The universe is too big and too old for us to be alone. The math says alien civilization should be everywhere. The telescopes say nothing. The silence is thick, not peaceful, heavy. Astronomers debate possibilities. Maybe life is rare. Maybe civilizations burn themselves out. Maybe they hide. Maybe we are too early or too primitive. Maybe we are inside a cosmic quarantine. But the deeper message is that the universe does not explain itself. It does not confirm our expectations. It laughs at them. And this is the same contradiction we find at the heart of existence itself. How does something come from nothing? Why did anything begin? What is the shape of infinity? Why does the universe have laws instead of chaos? Why do those laws exist at all? Physics is full of equations that work but make no intuitive sense. Particles that appear only when observed. Time that stretches and folds. Space that curves. Reality acting less like a machine and more like a dream that refuses to stabilize. The absurd is cosmic. Let us go inside the mind. Your consciousness is the most intimate fact of your life. Yet neuroscience cannot explain why you experience anything at all. How does electricity become a memory? How does chemistry become hope? How does the firing of neurons create the feeling of being a person with a name? The hard problem of consciousness is one of the greatest paradoxes ever proposed. We can explain the mechanism, but not the sensation. We can describe the brain, but not the spark. Inside psychology, every corner has contradictions. You want independence, but you crave belonging. You want meaning, but meaning requires responsibility. You want freedom, but too much freedom terrifies. You want certainty, yet certainty kills curiosity. You want love, yet fear vulnerability. Humans are walking paradoxes pretending to be coherent. Our minds want to make sense. Our lives refuse to obey. Anthropologists often describe the human condition with a simple formula. We are animals who know we will die. This knowledge is absurd. Every other species lives in the present, responding to needs. Humans imagine futures. Humans grieve the future long before it arrives. Every culture invents rituals to soften the blow. Myths of afterlife, ceremonies, traditions, holidays. They are not lies. They are survival tools. They hold the paradox of existence in a form the mind can handle. You could argue that culture itself is humanity's attempt to negotiate with the impossible. When you confront these contradictions head-on, something strange happens. The world becomes lighter, not less serious, more honest. Absurdity is not a flaw in existence. It is the atmosphere we breathe, but we rarely notice it because routine hides it. Pay bills, answer emails, shop for groceries, scroll through feeds. Life becomes a script, a comfortable lie, a story with no space for the questions that make the ground shake. Then something disrupts the script. A loss, a breakup, a crisis, a moment of silence at 3 a.m. when the mind mutinies. Suddenly we see the world naked again, without its usual costume, without the lines we memorized. Absurdity crashes into the room. But here is the secret. Absurdity, once faced, frees you. Most self-development is decoration. Optimize this, improve that, become efficient, become high-performing, become better. But real development begins when your perspective expands. When you stop chasing clarity and learn to live inside uncertainty. When you stop treating life as a puzzle to solve and start treating it as a landscape to explore. Paradoxes train the mind to stretch beyond binary thinking. They show you that ambiguity is not the enemy. It is the birthplace of insight. Thought experiments let you meet yourself from angles you never knew existed. They expose your assumptions, your narratives, your fears, and your illusions. They do not give answers. They give better questions. And better questions shape a better life. We often think beauty requires order. But some of the most breathtaking experiences come from absurdity. Laughter is absurd. Love is absurd. Art is absurd. Dreams are absurd. The fact that a brief creature on a small planet can contemplate the universe is absurd. Absurdity is not the opposite of meaning. It is the birthplace of meaning. Meaning emerges when you stop expecting the universe to explain itself. You create meaning. You negotiate meaning. You live meaning. Absurdity does not remove purpose. It forces you to craft one. When you finally admit that existence has no built-in script, you get something unexpected. Freedom. Not the childish freedom of doing whatever you want. A deeper freedom. The freedom to participate in your own existence consciously. life becomes less about control and more about presence, less about perfection and more about awareness. Instead of fighting absurdity, you surf it. Instead of fearing uncertainty, you inhabit it. Instead of searching for ultimate truth, you build a working truth, a truth that changes when you do. This is not resignation, it is engagement. Maybe this video is a lie, maybe it is the only honest thing here. The paradox stays alive because we are alive. And the paradox is not your enemy. It is the closest thing to a guide you will ever have. Because to live well is to live knowingly inside a mystery. And to live knowingly inside a mystery is to live with courage. Thank you for being here. Thank you for walking through this maze with me. In a universe this absurd, your presence is not something small. It is the rarest thing there is.